The news never stops, and so doesn't Chicago Bulls Central, as the Chicago Bulls reportedly are open to trading center Jalen Smith, and they re-signed fan favorite Yuki Kawamura. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And we got some news unexpectedly. I was coming all ready to do a video for Jalen Smith. I was going to pre-record it, but in the midst of me making the thumbnail, it got announced that the Chicago Bulls have waived Trenton Flowers and they have signed Yuki Kawamura to another two-way deal. This is big. People will remember that Yuki Kawamura became a Bulls favorite over the summer league and preseason, and he had an injury that was pretty serious. And, you know, the Bulls had to waive him. He went away. He stayed around the team in Chicago. There were still pictures of him being around Bulls practice and stuff like that. Well, the Bulls now, with him being cleared and healthy, the Bulls have now announced that they have signed Yuki Kawamura to a two-way contract. And this is good. This is really good for the Chicago Bulls. I think even with Noah Essengay being out for the remainder of the season with injury, you still have Lachlan Albrick down there. And Yuki Kawamura is a really good player. I don't know if he's ever going to play heavy minutes at the NBA level just because of the sheer size, but I do think that Yuki Kawamura could be a player that's really good down there for the NBA G League, for the Windy City Bulls in the G League, and can help, you know, develop young players as they come through there. You have somebody who can really run that system. That's really important there, and we'll see. This is a kid that you can shoot. He can facilitate. That's really special. That what he brings, his ability to facilitate. So Yuki Kawamura is on his way back to the Chicago Bulls after being away from the team for a couple of months at this point. With that, he did play two games in the G League so far this season, where he averaged 2 points, 0.5 rebounds, 0.5 assists in 2.8 minutes. So, that was Quentin Flowers' numbers. But you know, Yuki had his issues. And now he gets to come back and be with the Windy City Bulls, be that player that's going to help develop Lachlan Albrick and whatever type of play style that they want to develop down there. It's good. Yuki Kawamura is a good, smart basketball player who comes in, he understands his job, and having high IQ players at any level is always good for a team. It's always good for a franchise. You want as many high IQ level players in your building, in your facility as humanly possible, and that's what Yuki Kawamura is going to help do for the Chicago Bulls. But coming off the Yuki Kawamura news, which is great. I love Yuki Kawamura. I'm so glad that he's getting back to it. But, you know, we'll see what overall happens with that. But outside of that, right, we have some other things that we need to talk about. And that is that from Evan Sideri, he did point out that the Chicago Bulls reportedly are open to trading Jalen Smith, even so much to go on to say that they could be shopping Jalen Smith. Now, this is going to come as a little bit of a surprise for people. Like, Jalen Smith has been somebody that has really, you know, grown substantially under the Chicago Bulls. I think the Bulls' play system play style has really helped him be better than what he was last year. He's being prioritized. But from Evan Sideri, he says this: the Bulls are open to moving backup center Jalen Smith during the trade season. Smith is averaging 9 points, 6.3 rebounds, and only 17.7 minutes per game, which would help a lot of contenders. Smith, a 2020 lottery pick, is under contract through the 2027, making $9+ million annually. Now, what does this mean for the Bulls, right? Jalen Smith is a player that I actually wanted to see play more for the Chicago Bulls. I've go so far as to say that I want Zach Collins and Jalen Smith to be the starting front court after the trade deadline, if you're able to move Nikola Vucevic or not. But the Bulls seem to now be in a place, if this is to be believed, and like I said many times before, take reports from Evan Sideri with a bit of a grain of salt, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. And that's with everyone. But with that said, is that if this is true and the Bulls are looking to move on from Jaylen, is them basically doing what a lot of us have called and asked for. If you recognize that players aren't going to be part of your future, you move on and you gather whatever assets that you can for them. That's not to say that Jaylen is bad. That's not to knock Jalen Smith as a player. None of that. If anything, it goes to show how good he is, that there could be some contenders that come knocking down the door for Jalen Smith, and the Bulls are right to be listening to those offers or even shopping them around. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if a move ends up happening or not. One thing that I've talked a lot about here is that expiring contracts don't have the value that they used to have. What you are seeing, though, is that reasonable size contracts, they do have a year or two left on them. Those are what's valued more. We talked about that with Trey Jones, for example, for this Bulls team, in the sense that Trey Jones reportedly is one of the players that has the most interest on the Chicago Bulls because of his production and because of the fact that he has a flat rate, $8 million contract, and he's locked in for 2 more years after the season. Jalen Smith is in a similar boat, $9 million this season and next year, and it's a player that you don't have to give up a whole lot. He doesn't eat tremendously into your cap space, and you get bird rights on him at that point in time too. So it could make some sense. Jalen's having a really good season. I like Jalen on this roster. I think that Jalen Smith, Zach Collins minutes have been really good. You throw in Modest Buzelis at the 3 there. You have legitimate size, rim protection. You have a front court that can get out and run too. But the Bulls are in a spot now where, especially with how much flexibility that they have going into the offseason, if they want to take advantage of that flexibility and move some players now that do have a couple of years left on their contract to get even more flexibility, it makes some sense for the Chicago Bulls in that sense. I like Jalen. It is what it is. But, hey, I get that. I know Bulls fans are going to say, why are we trading Jalen when we should be moving Patrick Williams? Nobody wants Patrick Williams, right? So you can't say that you want this team to be in a position to be able to take advantage of assets. But, hey, Jalen's played really good for the Bulls. The Bulls are 0-6 without Jalen Smith so far this season, I believe. So that's something that you just can't overlook in times like that. He's 25 years old. He's young. He doesn't have the injury-prone label, even though he has had some injuries. But, hey, I think overall, like, if teams come calling for Jalen and they're willing to meet your asking price, you may have to make a swing at it. I love Jalen Smith. I hope he stays on this team. But, hey, we'll see what happens when it comes down to that one. Look, I told y'all one of the comments were coming. Of all the players to be moved, their choice is Jalen Smith. No, oh, my God. Do y'all realize that to move players, you need to move players that actually teams want? Like, if you want anything back that actually matters, you have to move. And listen, Jalen Smith is great. I want to be clear. What Jalen Smith does in 17 minutes is really good. But Jalen Smith is not the type of irreplaceable player. One of the things that the Bulls lacked at is that they didn't move Andre Drummond when they should have. So, listen, it's not like Jalen is the type of player that you just can't move. It's just not. Don't lie. You know the Wizards would take Patrick Williams. The Wizards wouldn't take Patrick Williams. The Wizards are actually starting to make smart deals. They wouldn't take Patrick Williams. Just look at what the Wizards have done over the last few years. Yeah, they've taken Chris Middleton and C.J. McCollum back, but they rid themselves of Jordan Poole's contract. They got shorter money in that. They stacked draft picks in being able to do that as well. I get the Wizards, their history and what they've done historically, but the Wizards have slowly, all things kept, but have been being a lot smarter in their moves lately. Tell me this has more substance to it. Listen, it has some, I would think. I don't as much as any trade rumor has. Won't say that it's not reported that they have been in any talks. I want to move players that my team doesn't want instead. Just say, yeah, but you're not getting anything for that. Like, I'm cool. Okay, so you move Vooch, you get back a future second round pick. That doesn't help you with anything. Like, that's all I'm saying, bro. Is like, I understand the mindset from a fan perspective of saying, let's move players that we don't like. But from an actual business perspective, and if you want assets that actually matter, you have to move players that teams actually want. That's just the reality of it. Hayes, I'm not saying that nobody is irreplaceable on this team, but do you trust AK to do the right moves? Listen. No, but that's going to be no matter what he does. Like, if you don't trust AK, listen, when people bring up, do you trust AK to make the right moves? Do you trust him to sign the right players? Do you trust him to make the right trades? Nothing's going to change that unless he makes the right trades and makes the right moves, right? So either you want him to sit on his hands or you don't. And that's my view on it as from fans that say stuff like that. Like, well, I don't trust AK to make the right moves, so do you want him to do nothing? If you want him to do nothing, cool, then stop complaining. I'm not talking about you in that, Shay. I'm just saying, like, you can't say that you want to see your team make better moves And then anytime a move comes up, say, I don't trust them to make the right move. Okay, so you want them to do nothing? That's the option here. Either they do something and then we'll see if it's the right move, whether it's short term or long term, or they sit on their hands and do nothing. Which one do you really want them to do? That's the question that you have to ask yourself here. What do you want them to do? The Bulls need to get players that impact winning. Impact winning. Listen, anybody can impact winning if you put them in the right situation. That whole thing of impact winning, I get it when it's a player that's like getting paid $40 million. If you don't trust they can impact winning. But when we're talking about role players, any role player can impact winning if you put them in the right situation. Any role player can do that. For example, look at Ben Gordon here. Ben Gordon definitely impacted winning for the Chicago Bulls. Did he do it for the Detroit Pistons? Did he do it for the Charlotte Bobcats at that point in time, I think was the team? So like the whole impact winning thing, when we're talking about role players here. If you're talking about somebody that's going to be making $35, $40 million, that's a different conversation. When it comes down to role players, any role player can impact winning when you put them in the right role with the right main pieces that's in front of them. That's just my thought process. Just got in. Did the rumor say that they're shopping him for? No, it did not, brother. No, it did not. Vooch you're not getting a protected first for Vooch. You're not getting a protected first for Vooch at this point. Look at what Vooch is doing. Look at how different his numbers are from last year to this year. You're not getting a protected first for Vooch when he's expiring, and any team that, even if a team does say, I wonder if Vooch can help us here, would just wait until the offseason where they can sign him probably for part of the mid-level exception and not have to give up any first to get it done. You're not getting a protected first for Vooch anymore. That time has shipped. It's shipped. I'm pretty tired watching the Bulls doing business, though. It's all business for the last decade, and no good teams are winning seasons. It's a pain. Well, we have had winning seasons. We had 2 winning seasons, I think. But you still have to do business. Either way, like, I get what you're saying, but either way, you have to do business. Making the right moves is still business. You have to do that. Like, there's no way around that. So, like I said, like I presented to Shay, either you want them to do something or you want them to sit on their hands. If you're advocating for them to sit on their hands, then just sit this conversation out. If you want the Bulls to actually do something, any move has a chance to be good or to be bad. But if you want them, they have to try. They have to try. Otherwise, they're just sitting on their hands. Always remember something, Bulls fans, when the rumors about players getting traded come up, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen or a trade comes completely out of nowhere. That's true as well. The only acquisition trade that I can remember recently that ended up coming true was the Bulls getting Lonzo Ball. That was rumored for like a year before it happened. Most rumors don't end up happening. They don't happen. I get shopping players that aren't cornerstones for future, but shopping a productive big instead of the one that of the mini guards has me scratch my. Well, it's simple. Jaylen Smith does not impact this team overall as much as the guards that we have. Any of them. He's not as good as Josh Giddey. He's not as good as Kobe White. He's not as good as Trey Jones. He's not as good as Ayo Dosunmu. Now, you can make a conversation for Kevin Huerter, for sure. But again, you got to keep in mind, like I said, expiring contracts don't have the value that they used to. So teams are now prioritizing cost-controlled contracts that actually have more years left on them. So because of that, Jaylen probably has more value than Kevin Huerter right now. I can completely see that happening. What about Golden State wanting to look at Vooch for Kuminga? That was a rumor that has long since sailed, bro. I think at this point that the Warriors are prioritizing different, more kind of mobile bigs in a Kuminga trade, but hey, maybe they come back around for it. Billy need to keep saying that to his players. If y'all run, we'll have some fun. Hey, listen, not even just running. They run fine. The pace is absolutely fine. They need to move off the ball consistently. If you don't have the ball, move. Why the fuck are you standing still? Like, that's one of the biggest questions here for that. Billy had this quote one time before. I don't know if it worked. For the Bulls, but if we run, we'll have some fun. It looks like that quote went out the door. Did it? I mean, you can't just move. Like, you can't just run. That's run and gun. You can't just run. You have to run with intention. You have to move with intention. You have to cut. You have to do those type of things. The Bulls right now are running and getting to the three-point line and stopping. So, that's all they're doing. We'll see how that ends up working out for this team. So we'll see. You're saying trades, but remember who? Yeah, and Jerry. See, this is another thing. I need everybody to stop thinking that Jerry Reinsdorf is some person that sits there and is like, oh, we can't move this player. He doesn't do that. The only thing that Jerry Reinsdorf matters in day-to-day is A, the business part of it, and B, don't go into the luxury tax. Everything that you see with this team is on AK as the person who runs the basketball operations. Jerry Reinsdorf is not the type of owner. There are some owners like that, but he's not the type of owner that AK could spend the whole salary cap on one player and then everybody else can be vet minimum. As long as you don't go over that luxury tax, Jerry's just going to sit there and be like, all right, cool. Where did the check clear? Jerry does not have a place in day-to-day basketball operations. He doesn't do that. That's just not who Jerry's been for a while. So there you go. But all right, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. First of all, this is the dumbest trade in the world. Are you remedial? First of all, why would you want Trae Young on this team? Have you seen how worse the Hawks are with him on the court? Secondly, did we not just see that Josh Giddey is worse when he's not actually running the point guard and Trae Young is terrible off ball? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, really, what happened? Were you dropped on your head as a kid? Anyway, love you guys. Go Bulls. See red, y'all. Catch y'all in the morning. We'll break this down a little bit more in detail. Love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.